Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so we're talking about love and money.
If you're dating someone, when should you start talking about finances? Today, our guest is Angelica Prescod. She's a financial advisor in Scottsdale.
She's going to help us tackle some big questions about budgets, retirement accounts, debts you owe to old flames, and what you need to tell your new partner.
This is On Your Side with Susan Campbell and Gary Harper, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
Man, you know what's coming up here in just a couple of days?
What?
Valentine's.
Oh, yeah. We have to get all of the Valentines for the kiddos' classrooms in order. We have to make the special box and everything.
Do they still do Valentines?
Yeah,
really?
It's really cute. It's super cute. I mean, it's for everybody in the class, so you're helping your kid write out like 20 of them. And it's adorable.
You just made me think of my very first Valentine. It was third grade.
Aww.
I was in Chicago Elementary School.
Okay.
And I got a Valentine from a girl named Fran.
Oh.
She was a nice Italian girl.
Did you have a crush on Fran?
I did.
That's
I
so
did.
sweet.
And she must have had a crush. Why am I thinking about this right now?
It's just Valentine's Day parties were a thing in elementary school.
It just popped in my head.
I love that. That's adorable.
That's so weird.
I mean, you made me think about, in first grade, I had a crush on a little boy named Jeff. And after a Valentine's Day party, his mom she was like one of the room moms.
Yeah.
And she saw us chatting. And he lived in my same neighborhood. So after the Valentine's Day party, they invited me over to their house, and I got to go hang out and play on the swings or something at Jeff's
cool.
house.
Oh, it's taking me back to yesteryear.
Young love.
Isn't that the truth? So anyway, we're talking about Valentine's, and I mean, you got to take care of the spouse or your loved one. I mean, you should do that all year round. I mean, you shouldn't wait for a specific day.
No.
I think if you wait for that day, it's not...
It's a miss.
It's a miss. In fact, don't even do it on Valentine's Day. Do it like every time, like every...
Random stuff.
Randomly.
Yeah.
I'll bring my wife home flowers every once in a while, just
That's
out of
so
the clear
sweet.
blue. And yeah, it really...
I'm sure she loves it.
Of course she does, yeah.
What's her favorite?
I always get roses.
Yeah.
But then again, I got to, get the different colors. I mean, red is kind of like, but I like getting the peach ones or the
those are pretty.
white roses.
Mix it up a little bit.
She's from Texas, so yellow rose.
That's a good one.
Yellow roses are always good.
And that's a nice pop of color in Arizona.
Yeah, and they always look good on our island.
For sure.
Listen, it also comes to relationships with Valentine's.
Love and money.
And I'm excited to talk about this because my favorite topic is money.
Planning. Financial planning.
Real estate and money. Money and real estate.
And car.
And NASCAR. you always
We're not going to talk about cars today, guys.
But when it comes to, money and finances can be a real deal breaker when it comes to, romantic relationships.
And everybody's coming from a different place. So the starting point is totally different when you are meeting someone and falling in love.
Prior to marrying your husband, did you guys discuss money? Did he know how much
we sure
debt
did.
you had? Did you know how much debt he had?
Yeah, we sure did. I mean, it did help. We have the same job. He's also a reporter. So we kind of were coming at life from the same place. We worked at the same station and everything.
So you knew roughly how much.
Ballparking it, right?
Yeah,
in the very beginning.
You know how much he's making and vice versa.
Yeah, but when we did start actually discussing finances and family traditions and where we were coming from, it was interesting to note that we were coming from very similar backgrounds. Like for us, both of us were very lucky in that our parents paid for college for us. So that was something that was a financial tradition that we had in common.
Huge.
And we were able to talk about that. And when we started planning, like we want a family, this is something that matters to us because it mattered to our parents. So it was interesting to have those conversations.
So can I share a secret?
Yeah.
When my wife and I married, this was 30 years ago. We bought our first house. Everything was just cooking along, and then I started getting these bills because I was up in Michigan, she was in Texas, and then she moved up to where I was, and then of course all over bills started to follow her. Right, this is pre-internet.
Yeah.
And I started getting these bills from.
What were they?
Well, I mean, they were credit card bills,
No.
and I'm like one, then two, then four more roll in. I'm like,
What is happening here?
what is going on here? Did I just marry a money pit? Please share with me how much money you owe.
And you guys had to talk through it.
We had to talk through it, and I paid it off. And ever since then, 30 years later, yeah, she's been good. No debt.
She figured out the budget.
She did. And she wanted
And
to
you figured out the budget too, because
Yeah.
I'm sure we've talked about it before. She still spends on Amazon.
She does. She's an Amazon queen. She knows Jeff Bezos personally, I believe. Anyway, we're talking to Angelica Prescod. She's a financial advisor in Scottsdale, and she is a friend of the On Your Side podcast because you've been with us before, Angelica. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Thank you so much for being with Susan and myself. You're married, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
And we're going to talk a little bit about money and discussing financial situations. What do you think about the story that I just shared with my wife of 30 years? She didn't know exactly how much she owed, and then we had to get. I mean, does that happen all the time?
You're actually the norm. You're actually the norm. Most people don't discuss it till it becomes a problem or till an emergency comes up and a family member demands the same amount of help from that person as they're used to pre-marriage. And now that they're married, it becomes a conversation between two people versus just them and their family members or friends. So yes, you're normal. And I'm happy that you guys were able to work through it. That's a huge congratulations to both of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody likes being in debt. So, of course, I had to pay that sucker off. And, she's, I think everybody learns from that. I mean, they don't want to be in debt because it's just not a good thing to be in.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's just say, Angelica, if you have a growing relationship with somebody, what can you do to start that awkward talk about money? If you're really interested in someone and you're going to be going down that road with that person,
Right.
But you don't want a bunch of financial baggage clinging to you, how do you bring that up and how do you discuss it without offending the other person?
Well, you can go into it with soft topics like what she was saying earlier on, we both went into a relationship and we did not have any college debt because it was important to our parents. Starting from that unified front is an easy way to not go into it with knives and choking or, I'm angry, none of that. Let's talk about the things that we're neutral on. Let's talk about the things that we actually connect on. Do you work somewhere where there's a retirement plan? How is that going? How's your boss treating you? Is your company treating you well? When you're asking about work, ask about a little more than how was your day? How was your day? And hey, do they have a good support system for you to retire at that place? Or are we looking at some other place later? So you don't have to hit it head on only on the drastic points of numbers. You can hit it head on as to the objectives and goals.
When does this kind of conversation start? I mean, this isn't I haven't been on a first date in a lot of years. And I'm assuming this would be a terrible first date topic. But
It depends on the couple.
I mean, maybe, yeah. But when do you kind of start getting into this? And when do you want to learn just a little bit more and dig into that?
So I have a prop for you guys.
Ooh, I like a prop.
Links.
Okay.
So simple. Don't try to do all of these 4 links in one shot. Okay. Start with the first conversation and find out, hey, do you really see that our relationship is going further? Do you feel like we can be connected for a long time, or is this kind of like a hit and run for you? Have that conversation. If they say yes to that, go to the next link. Next link is, all right, so I really, really, really care about you, and I really believe that we are a united front together. Do you want kids? And with that, are we going to cover for them for their college? You see that soft spot? Do we want kids? Are we going to have something for them, or can they just grind it out like we did? Whichever angle, that's the next link.
But let's stay on that second link though, because
Yes.
I mean you have to know that the other person feels the same way. Obviously,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes, you have to make sure that it's not, I hate kids, I love 6 of them. That's going to be a little bit of a prompt to go to the next link.
Right.
But if you guys are agreeing on that same point, now we can go forward with link number 3, for example, in this imagery here. How does that look for us after the kids are gone? Are you wanting to retire? You want to work while they're going to school? Are we retired before then? And by talking about the vision of your lifestyle, you can then back that into the vision of the monetary side to support the lifestyle. So remember, do we like each other? 2, are we trying to have more people in our lives? 3, when we're doing that, are we going to be working through it? And what happens after they're grown up? And 4, what's the long-term goal for us? Do we want to leave something for them or not? Is it that my last check bounces? Because some folks who are very wealthy want that. And is it, no, honey, I want to make sure that our great grandkids name their children after us because we left such a legacy for them.
I love those links. And I do love the idea of talking together and envisioning the future. That's something my husband and I do together. Often if we're out and, on vacation or something, it's fun to pick out the house, the extravagant, beautiful house. Do I think that's probably ever going to happen? No, but it is super fun to dream about the things that we do want to see coming, that might not be the multi-bajillion dollar beach house, but the comfortable retirement and the things that we do want for our lives.
Let's take some baby steps, Angelica. Let's go back to, I think it was link number 2 before we jump into the kids and retirement. What do you do if you want to find out about your significant other's finances as far as, do you have credit card debts? Are you financially stable? Are you spending more than you're earning? That's a really awkward conversation to have. So how do you bring that up with the other person?
Take a pad of paper, draw a circle on it, put yourself or your significant other in the middle, not you as a couple, just that person, and say how much are you bringing into that circle and how much is leaving. And what influences, put arrows towards it going in and going out. Who influences and supports your lifestyle? That's that influx into that circle. Whose lifestyle are you supplementing for? That's the outward line. And which people are the masterminds behind your idea of what success looks like? Meaning, who are the influencers in their lives, right? Are you going to your mom, your dad, your best friend, your cousin Vinny? What's the situation, right? Where do you go for that advice? That way you can see it. Not just hey, do you have $500,000 worth of debt? You go into it and say, all right, with that, what's taking money out? And now becomes an imagery that they have to fill in the gaps for you. Less combative and more of a storytelling of this is how I look.
I was going to say, are there giant red flags? If somebody is coming to you and saying, this is the conversation we had, we are not on the same page. What are the red flags that might be like, this isn't a compatible relationship purely based on finances right now?
Well, in my role as a financial advisor, I'm kind of their Oprah in this topic, and they bring the story to me. And I'm like, well, really the first thing you need to read is their energy. Are they interested in changing? Remember what he just said. 30 plus years of marriage, she knows how to work. She knows what to expect from me. I know what to expect from her, even though they walked into their marriage with debt. So look at what energy they're putting towards it. Is it something they want to improve on, or is it I don't care? That's your first red flag. If it's a problem between both of you and the other party that is creating that problem or that issue is completely nonchalant about it, irrelevant of how small it is, this might be a huge red flag.
Yeah, and let's face it, one of the biggest topics that people or couples argue over are dollars. I mean, it could be a real deal breaker. I mean, you can love this person with all your heart, and I mean, this is the person I want to spend my life with, but you have $50,000 in debts
and no plan to get out of it, or no desire to get out of it.
No desire is the big one. I mean, that's huge. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, sometimes people have habits that are hard to break, and they need therapy to work through those. Some people that walked into my office said, I have a gambling issue. This is not just a red flag. This is a condition now that they're getting a certain amount of happiness in their lives for taking on these types of risk, and they need to redirect that. So don't just look at it as the money factor and the activity, but what's driving it behind the story. And ask them, here's a key question. What was money like in your household? How was it discussed? Ask that question, because we formulate our concept of money sometimes in our own childhood. Those that had lack sometimes run towards having more growth and don't ever want to see that experience of lacking. Others are just so used to not having that they stay in that space comfortably.
That's a really good point. I think a lot of your opinions and decision making is based on your upbringing. I think money is a huge part of that. How your parents dealt with money, how you saw them deal with money. I think that really passes on to you.
Well, it's what you see and what you know, and there is I mean, truly a lack of education about financial information in schools. So if you don't get it at home, you're probably not getting it anywhere, right? So that's your frame of reference is very narrow to the couple people who are raising you.
One tip, Angelica, that I read was schedule a time to talk, schedule conversations ahead of time.
Yes.
Do you want to do that, or is that kind of like tipping off the other person, like, I don't want to talk about this?
And they find some excuse to be working late that day.
Yes.
Yes. I call it find a neutral ground and go on a date night with your partner. This is your primary business, your household. That's your corporation numero uno, right? So when it comes to that, go out and have a good time. Do not include too much alcohol because we do not want any lies on the storytelling of what's going on. But sit down and talk about it as, all right, this is where we're at today. Where would you like to see us be within the next 24 months? And work it as a meeting that you have quarterly. How are we doing? And let's change it, not just money. Let's talk about how are we doing in a relationship as well? Because money and the love life that you have, as you said before, work together. So if your spouse is really not taking things seriously, you can say, it feels like you're not showing me that type of trust that I want to have in you when it comes to the things that are priority for me. And by tying it into an emotional factor, it may actually conjure up the energy for the individual to show up even better.
So let's say we did the first link, the second link, that we've got all the links, and both, and there you go. And the couple is, they love each other. They're on the same page with money and debts, and everything is hunky dory. At what point do you talk to a financial advisor? Because I think a lot of people are under the impression that I don't make a whole lot of money, so I really don't need a financial advisor. But do they? Is that a good idea, or is that something just to plan on down the road?
No. That's a good idea from the start of the conversation. I think it's important, especially if you find the right financial advisor, to work with someone who will work with you where you are and build you to where you're trying to go. When she was speaking earlier about it's not maybe a multi-million-dollar house, but we like to visualize it. Maybe a financial advisor can make that one dream you had a reality. And the small dollars that may not equate to that might actually make it happen. You never know, but without help and planning, just like getting heart surgery, you're not going to do it on your own. You're going to get some help no matter what. Same thing with the finances. Get some help.
We've talked a lot about people who are kind of young in their relationship, but we know we have listeners who are all across the board. I've been married a bunch of years. Gary's been married 30. For all of us who might need that little check-in, how do we do the check-in so we're not just having this conversation before we're married and saying, okay, things are good. This is how we set everything up, and that's how we're going to handle finances from here on out.
Well, first of all, let's do a check-in on how our retirement strategies are looking like. All right, so how much money is this looking to make me, honey, when I am 65 years old or whatever age range you're comfortable with? Or let's talk someone even older and they're already in their 60s, already retired. Can they do a check-in then? Absolutely, because guess what? Mama might still be shopping at Neiman Marcus, having a great old time and spending a little bit more than grandpa's comfortable with her spending. So having that conversation intermittently throughout your entire lives together, or even as a single person, and what you want to see for yourself in your future and as you progress forward, depending on yourself, is something you should do. And honestly, schedule it just like a birthday.
Hey, I'm going to ask you a personal question since we're on this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, Lord.
I want to. So your significant other. How did you have that? Did you have that conversation? And was it awkward?
I feel like it's got to be a little intimidating since you are a financial person.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you handle that?
First of all, let me turn the question back to you. How would you approach if you had dated a financial advisor to have this conversation? What would you have done?
I don't think I would have dated one.
I'll play ball here. I think I would have said, I'm not sure if you're going to think I'm an expert on this, but here are my ideas. And am I totally off base? Like, I think I would have tried to play ball with the situation a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know.
And listen, I like it. Home run. Yeah, you hit it.
Well, for me, it was really interesting. The person I'm now married to was my client. So I already knew certain things about what he was doing. So I had a cheat sheet in that conversation.
That's not fair.
Listen, that is totally not fair.
I am 100% truth, nothing but the truth. But if it wasn't that way, having that conversation would sound something like this. So, you know, my line of work, I'm talking to people about this all the time, and I don't try to bring work into my personal life, but I want to make sure that we're eye to eye on everything. And this is one of the key things I want us to talk about. You don't have to go into every single number, but are you even comfortable having that conversation with me? And they go, yay or nay. If they say nay very harshly, I'll be like, and the date's over. But if they say yes, I like to dive into it by saying, all right, so talk to me about what do you see for yourself irrespective of me? And by separating yourself and letting the person create their own vision, you're able to formulate what's the priority for them, regardless of whether you were in their lives. And that's how I went about it.
Angelica, were you looking at his finances and said,
Ooh.
I got to marry this guy?
No, that's the funniest part. I was actually concerned.
You need help. I'm going to marry you because you need help.
You rescued him.
I'm going to work on this.
Oh, man.
But no. He was in a good seat. But more importantly, I like that he was curious about financial matters. And people of the highest net worth, sometimes it's inherited, and it's just a matter of one or two more bad mistakes before it all disappears. And in other scenarios, there are people who are really working hard, and it's just one or two opportunities, and they'll be in a very good situation. He was on the latter side, where it was just trying to figure out, in his world of medicine, a lot of them make a lot, but their debts going in, my God, are intense. So he was working through something like that. And of course, being one of the high net worth earners in his lineage of family members and friends, they're usually the strong friend that people lean on for favors. And can you help me? Can you help me? And as a giver that he was and still is, he would end up giving away more than he should. So walking into that relationship for me was eye-opening, because now I was going to walk in with my eyes fully open to what's going on. And honestly, also understanding the ramifications of all that will do to us if we continue.
Absolutely. Bankrate recently put out a survey saying that 42% of U.S. adults keep financial secrets from their spouse or live-in partner.
That's a low number.
You think so? You think there's more than that?
60 something plus at least.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking secret bank accounts, secret credit cards, debt that they're not acknowledging. And I just imagine that you hear some of these stories too, or it comes out when somebody's maybe shopping for a house and they're running the credit check, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait, what's happening here?
The bomb just dropped.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Being in those meetings are tough.
But you've been there.
Oh, I've seen it. Yes, because again, we have the plan of how much we'd have to put in a down payment for the property was such and such number under the idea of what they knew. And it becomes a higher number because the credit score is really not what they said they thought it was.
Oh, brutal.
Can I share a story here? I have a friend who he was married. He was married, and he found out that his wife had $20,000 in credit card debts, which is significant, but you know,
you could get out of $20,000 if it's $20,000 you know about.
Right.
But if you don't know about it, you feel you are lied to.
Well, can you imagine the emotions going on? I mean, first of all, you have to digest the fact that this is $20,000 that now you're going to have to help your spouse pay off. And number two, you feel like you were emotionally cheated on because this is something that she didn't share with him.
Which is, I think, the bigger thing.
Yeah, it is, right. And he felt violated.
Because the money's the money. Like, you can figure it out if you're willing to work together on it.
Right.
But it's the rest of it, the like behind the scenes. Like, why did you feel like you had to keep $20,000 of spending a secret from me?
Right. So in like I said, was married because that was, I think they were married like maybe 10 years.
Oh, that's so sad.
And they wound up splitting over that.
Oh,
but
man.
I mean, it's terrible, but I mean, this is why we're talking about this, right?
Let's get ahead of it.
So, hey, Angelica, thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. Like I said before, you're a friend of our podcast. We like having you on. If people want to know more about you or your employer, anything like that, where do we go? Where do our viewers go to, or listeners?
Well, there are two sides of me. There's a motivational speaker, life coach side, and you can find me as Angelica Prescod on Instagram and social media platforms. As that financial advisor Oprah was talking about earlier, Yeah, that's Angelica Prescod, Edward Jones. Just Google me and I will populate your screens.
Sounds good. All right. Well, listen, happy Valentine's Day. By the way,
Thank you.
are you going to take care of your husband with anything? Are you going to buy him anything, or can we say?
I do it every 14th of every month. So yes, it will hit on Valentine's Day this
That's
year.
sweet.
I like that. The 14th of every month. Well, maybe you should do it randomly, because now he's going to be expecting it.
Oh, there's other little trinkets in between, but we have something already on the calendar for the 14th every single.
How long have you been married?
2 years-ish.
Okay.
I
Well,
love it.
that is very cool. Well, listen, happy Valentine's. Thanks for being on the show with us, and have a great day.
Take care.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.